Well, good afternoon, YouTube. This is Chuck. I'm actually coming to you today from the front porch of the museum. Let me spin this around so I can talk to you. It's a beautiful day today. It's Tuesday the 28th. Temperatures in the low 60s, not a cloud in the sky. It's just a beautiful day. I think spring is finally getting here. Today I figured I'd talk to you a little bit about some of the local stuff here and talk to you about some place names and how they got their name. And we'll start off with the town that we live in. We got a Harley going by. Sorry about the noise. The town we live in is called Payson. And the way Payson got its name is kind of interesting. Back in the old days, you weren't really a town until you had a post office. And the only way to get a post office was literally took an act of Congress. And so you had to schmooze some congressman to put a bill in and to sponsor a bill on your behalf and to get a post office. Well, that was in 1884, and we weren't even a state yet. We were still a territory. And so they were trying to get a post office here. And so they were shopping around for members of Congress who would sponsor a bill. And the original name they wanted to use was Green Valley. And actually the museum where I'm sitting right now is located in Green Valley Park, and that's it. They use the old name for the park. But basically, there's already was a settlement. It's still there, town south of Tucson a ways called Green Valley. So that name was already taken. So the post office department said, no, we got to do something else. And so finally, the congressman that agreed to sponsor the bill to get us a post office was a guy from Illinois named Louis Payson. And he was a member of the House of Representatives. And he agreed to sponsor the bill if we'd name the town after him. Well, it's not a bad name. It's not an old name that has roots here, but they decided yes. And so he sponsored the bill. And in 1884, they gave us a post office. And that's how we got our name. Now, we sit underneath a large geographical feature that's called the Mogollon Rim. And if you look on the map, it's spelled Mogollon, but the proper pronunciation is Mogollon. Sometimes the Muslim locals, we call it Mogollon, but the correct pronunciation is actually Mogollon. And that's a Spanish pronunciation. And that's named after the Spanish governor of New Spain in the early 1700s, and his name was Juan Ignacio Flores Mogollon. And he was based out of Santa Fe. And I've read differing accounts of exactly when that was. I heard 1712 to 1715. I also heard 1723 to 1727. Either way, it doesn't make any difference. That was a long time ago. And the Mogollon Rim and the Mogollon Mountains in New Mexico and the town of Mogollon, New Mexico was all named after him. And that's where that name came from. Well, if you look around on the little towns outside of Payson, just east of us, there's a town called Star Valley. And Star Valley was actually named after the early ranching family, the name Star, and they actually spelled it with two R's. And somewhere along the line, the second R got dropped, and now it's like the stars in the sky, Star Valley. And there's been a push to add the extra R back to it again. I don't know if that'll ever happen. But if you go east of there a ways, there's the little community of Coles Ranch, and that was named after the Cole family who had a ranch there. And they kind of converted it to a boarding house, and they took in boarders, and they had a restaurant there, and they started feeding people and kind of went that direction, and it's still called Coles Ranch. East of there further is the community of Christopher Creek, and that was actually named after one of the early settlers, and he was a German immigrant by the name of Isidore Christopher. And the locals didn't like the name Isidore, so they just called him Old Man Christopher. There's kind of an interesting story about him. I'll cover that in a different video. But if you go north of us, there's a community of Pine, and Pine, of course, got its name from the pine trees. And north of Pine a little bit is Strawberry, and Strawberry got its name because there was wild strawberries growing along the creek up there. And down south of us, there's a community of Rye, and originally that was called Wild Rye because there was wild rye grass growing along the creek down there, and eventually they just shortened the name and called it Rye. So that's a little tidbit of some of the surrounding names and how they came to be, and that's probably enough for right now. So I think with that, I'll let you go, and I'll tell you as I always do: take care of each other, love each other. It's a wonderful life. It's a beautiful day, and we'll talk to you again real soon. So for right now, I'll spin this around where I can find the button, and I'll just tell you, peace out.